Ever get that feeling? Like you're drowning in information, trying to really understand a company. You're clicking through articles, reports, opinions. It's just too much.
Oh, yeah, totally. It's information overload for sure.
And that is precisely why we do these deep dives. We take all that stuff and we boil it down.
Exactly.
So today, we are looking at Phunware, ticker symbol PHUN.
Okay.
One of our listeners was kind enough to send in a whole bunch of information, and we're going to try to make sense of it all.
Sounds good.
So we're going to look at Phunware through a value investing lens, figure out their business, who's running things, how are the financials, what's the market thinking, and, of course, what are the risks, what are the opportunities. We have company filings, news articles, analyst opinions, all that good stuff.
Right.
So let's dive in. So first things first, what does Phunware actually do?
All right. So Phunware, they have what they call a fully integrated enterprise cloud platform for mobile. They call it MOS.
MOS.
And basically, it's everything a business would need to build, manage, and make money from their mobile apps.
Gotcha. So instead of a company having to go out and find all these different pieces of software and cobble them together, Phunware is saying, hey, we've got the whole package deal.
Exactly. One-stop shop for your mobile needs.
Okay. And how do they make money from that?
Primarily through subscriptions and services related to this platform, and then also some revenue comes from advertising within the apps that are built using Phunware's tech.
Makes sense. And it sounds like they're really pushing towards that subscription model.
Yeah, definitely. Which, makes sense. Recurring revenue, that's what you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Predictability, all that. But you know what really caught my eye in the research? This upcoming platform they're working on, it's supposed to launch mid-2025. Generative AI-powered software development platform. That seems like a big shift, right?
Oh, absolutely. Huge. I mean, this isn't just them offering pieces for building apps. It's like they're going to try to change the entire development process, right?
Right.
Faster, cheaper, businesses can build their mobile apps all thanks to AI. I mean, if they pull it off, this could be a huge driver for their growth. And it really feeds into that recurring revenue with the subscriptions.
So the big takeaway there is that Phunware is transitioning, moving away from just individual pieces, and they're trying to become more of a software-centric company with AI as a core part of their growth strategy.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got that core platform, but let's zoom in a little bit. What are the key products and services? I noticed location-based services, or LBS, keeps popping up.
Yeah, you're right. LBS is big for them. It's kind of their bread and butter. So yeah, the MaaS platform is important, but these location-based services, this is where they really stand out.
Okay.
We're talking super precise navigation, indoor-outdoor, geofencing, setting up those virtual boundaries, and a bunch of tools for businesses to engage users based on where they are.
Okay, so what does that look like practically?
So imagine like a retailer, right? They can ping you with a coupon when you're near their store or guide you to a specific product once you're inside.
So it's not just like, hey, you're in this general area. It's pretty targeted.
Right, exactly. Very granular. But here's where it gets really interesting. They're weaving AI into these LBS offerings.
Really?
Yeah, things like an AI personal concierge, intelligent reporting, personalized recommendations, data-driven insights. This stuff could significantly improve the user experience and provide a lot of value to businesses.
An AI concierge that knows where I am and can offer personalized recommendations. That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, it's like they're building these intelligent layers on top of what they already have.
I like it. Okay, so anything else beyond the LBS and the AI stuff?
Yeah, they also offer like a modular modal application framework, so clients can kind of pick and choose the features they need.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all platform. You can kind of customize it.
Exactly. Lots of flexibility there. And then there's their customer data platform, their CDP, and they use this massive collection of what they call Phunware IDs.
And they claim they have billions of these.
Over 15 billion, yeah. They use this to enable really targeted marketing campaigns. And then they even have rewarded surveys, so app users can earn incentives for providing data. That helps boost engagement and potentially offers another revenue stream.
So lots of different moving pieces here.
Right. But the big picture is Phunware has this comprehensive suite of mobile software and services. They're really leaning into AI, and they have a strong foundation in location-based services.
Okay. So they have a pretty solid product line. They're using AI. They're strong in location services. But where do they fit into the market? Are they a big player?
Well, according to Phunware, they're a pioneer in location-based SaaS. They claim to be the only fully integrated enterprise cloud platform specifically for mobile.
Okay.
Now, their FY 2024 revenues came in at $3.2 million.
Not a huge number.
No, not massive. Gross profit margin about 45.6%. But here's the interesting part. They saw a 232% jump in their software and subscription bookings in 2024.
Wow. 232%. That's a huge jump.
Yeah, it is. And it really suggests that their shift towards subscriptions and these new offerings are gaining some real traction. Their market cap as of late March, early April 2025 was hovering between $59.5 and $62.3 million.
Okay.
So they're definitely on the smaller side in the whole grand scheme of enterprise software.
Sure.
But that growth in bookings is a really strong signal. They have the potential to scale up within their niche. Classic case of a smaller company finding their footing in a specific area and showing some promising growth.
So they're not a household name, but they're making moves. All right, let's get down to brass tacks. What's their core value proposition? What are they offering that's truly unique?
It boils down to this. Phunware is that one platform for everything mobile.
Okay.
Engagement, management, monetization, regardless of where the user is, that's their main selling point. They're giving brands the tools to build these amazing, distinct mobile experiences. And their deep expertise in location-based services, that's a major differentiator. And then you add in the whole AI platform they're building, streamlining app development, cutting costs. It's a really compelling package.
It's a lot for a business to consider.
It is, but think about it from their perspective. They don't have to shop around for different solutions from various vendors. And that focus on location services that directly addresses the needs of industries where knowing where a user is paramount. Retail, healthcare, travel, all that. The AI piece, though, that's the real potential game changer. Efficiency and innovation all wrapped up in one.
Right. So just to recap, What does Phunware do? How do they make money? It sounds like they're an enterprise software company with a very comprehensive mobile cloud platform. They're making money through subscriptions, some services, a little bit of advertising, and they're banking on this AI platform to drive a lot of future growth.
Exactly.
Okay, so now we need to step back and look at the bigger picture, the industries that Phunware plays in. Do these markets have legs? Are they going to be around for the long haul?
That's the million-dollar question, right? So let's break it down. First, you've got the global mobile enterprise application market, projected to grow like crazy. Various reports are throwing out key GRs from 15% to over 22%.
Wow.
Yeah. Fueled by the ever-increasing adoption of smartphones and businesses needing access to data in real time.
Right. Makes sense.
Then you've got the market for location-based services, also expected to see some really strong growth. Some estimates putting the CAGR at nearly 25%.
Wow.
Driven by the demand for, personalized context-aware experiences. And then, maybe the most exciting, the AI software market. Exploding right now. Projections are all over the place, but they're all high, around 30% annual growth.
Those are some serious numbers.
They are. And the key takeaway here is that Phunware is positioned right at the intersection of these three high-growth markets.
Sound like they're in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
But let's be realistic. They're not alone, right? Who are they up against?
Oh, yeah. This is a critical point. The potential is huge, but these are also extremely competitive markets.
Okay.
So in mobile enterprise application, you've got the big boys. IBM, Microsoft, SAP, Apple, VMware, the list goes on, all the usual suspects.
Yeah, those are some tough competitors.
Yeah. And then in location-based services, there are companies like Tap Hotel, iDog.us, a bunch of others. And as Phunware moves into the AI-powered mobile app development space, they'll be bumping up against, Microsoft Power Apps, IBM Watson, AI, all these established platforms.
Okay, so they've got their work cut out for them. Plenty of big players and smaller niche companies to contend with. What about the regulatory environment? Are there specific regulations, especially with all this location data they're using, that could impact Phunware?
Yeah, regulations are definitely something to keep in mind, especially with their focus on location services. Privacy is a big deal these days.
Absolutely.
So in Europe, you've got GDPR, the e-privacy directive, all about user consent, transparency, and the right to withdraw consent for location data usage. And in the US, even though there isn't one big federal law, there's the Electronic Communications Privacy Act, the Communications Act, and the Federal Trade Commission. They have their own guidelines. All of these regulations basically boil down to protecting user privacy.
Okay.
So Phunware, they have to be super careful about how they collect and use location data. They need to make sure they're complying with all these regulations, prioritizing user privacy.
It makes sense. Privacy is huge for consumers, and regulators are really cracking down. Okay, so let's say a new company wants to jump in and compete directly with Phunware. How hard would that be?
It wouldn't be easy. There are some pretty big barriers to entry in this space.
Okay, like what?
First of all, building a platform like Phunware's, that takes serious money, research and development, Then there's the whole complexity of implementing these systems for big companies. You need specific expertise, you need sales and support networks that are already up and running. And on top of all that, Phunware has a bunch of patents in mobile tech, especially in LBS, so that adds another layer of difficulty.
So those patents act as a sort of moat around their business.
Exactly. It makes it a lot harder for new companies to just come in and copy what they're doing.
Interesting. So putting it all together, what do you think? Does this industry have staying power? Is it a good long-term bet?
I'd say so, yeah. You've got mobile technology, enterprise software, location-based services, and AI. All these things are converging, and that paints a really bright picture for the future of this industry.
Okay.
Businesses everywhere are relying on mobile apps for everything. Internal operations, customer engagement, making money, you name it. And that demand for personalized, location-aware, AI-driven solutions, that's just going to keep growing as the world gets more digital.
So, good industry to be in. All right, let's talk about what Phunware does well. What are their specific competitive advantages? What sets them apart?
Let's see. In terms of their brand, they've won some awards. They were recognized as the best mobile-driven enterprise cloud platform back in 2020.
Okay.
And they like to point out that they work with some big-name brands, which gives them credibility. They were involved with the Trump 2020 campaign, which, depending on your perspective, could be seen as a positive or a negative, but it definitely raised their profile.
Right.
However, some reports show that their customer satisfaction scores aren't great compared to competitors.
Oh, interesting. So they need to work on that.
Yeah, for sure. They've got some brand recognition, but they could definitely do more to build loyalty, especially compared to those giant companies they're up against.
What about cost advantages? Can they do things more cheaply than their competitors?
Well, they've been cutting costs recently, which is a good sign that they're focused on being efficient. And that AI platform they're developing, that could really help their clients save money because it streamlines the whole app development process.
Right.
But they're still a relatively small company, so they don't have the same economies of scale as the big players.
So they're not benefiting from being a bigger operation yet?
Not a huge way, no.
Okay. What about network effects? Does their platform become more valuable as more people use it?
This is one area where they have a lot of potential. I mean, remember those 15 billion Phunware IDs we talked about?
Right.
As more people use apps powered by Phunware, the data they collect becomes more valuable for targeted marketing and those personalized experiences. And they're also building this whole FunCoin and FunToken ecosystem, which is designed to reward users for engagement and data sharing.
Okay. So their platform has the potential to become more attractive as more users join.
Exactly. It's like a snowball effect. More users attract more brands, which in turn attract more users. But of course, this depends on how widely adopted their platform and their blockchain loyalty system become.
Makes sense. What about switching costs? If a company is using Phunware, how hard would it be for them to switch to a different provider?
There's not a lot of information on this specifically, but since their MOS platform is all about being integrated, everything in one place, I imagine it would be pretty complicated for a client to just up and leave.
Right. They'd probably be pretty embedded.
Exactly. They'd have to move data, reconfigure stuff, retrain employees. It wouldn't be a simple switch. So even though it's not explicitly mentioned as a major barrier, I think it's safe to say that Phunware has at least moderate switching costs.
Okay. So what are some of their other unique assets? What really gives them an edge?
Well, first off, they've got a ton of patents, especially in location-based services and geofence prediction.
So they've got some legal protection there.
Yeah, definitely. And then there's that massive database of Phunware IDs. They're also building something called a knowledge graph, which uses all this data to generate insights.
Okay.
And of course, there's the AI platform they're developing. They also claim that their LBS tech is more accurate than what's out there. And that's a huge deal for industries where precise location data is critical.
It's not just one thing. They've got a bunch of valuable assets working together.
Right. Patents, data, an AI platform, and a lot of expertise in location-based services. It all adds up.
So at the end of the day, what makes Phunware so hard to copy? What's their secret sauce?
It's the whole package, really. You've got the Moz platform, which is integrated and comprehensive.
Hmm.
They have all these patents that protect their tech, especially in LBS. They've got this massive database of Phunware IDs and the knowledge graph. And then they're building this really innovative AI platform. It's not just one thing. It's the way they've built and integrated all these different pieces over time.
All right, so we've got a pretty good understanding of Phunware's business and the industry they're in. Let's move on to the people running the show. What can you tell us about their management team?
Well, the first thing that jumps out is that there have been a lot of leadership changes recently.
Oh,
Yeah. Stephen Chen became the interim CEO just last month, March 2025. He took over from Mike Snavely. And Alan Natowski, he's a co-founder. He's also been CEO in the past. So there's been a lot of shuffling at the top.
that's interesting. Frequent changes in leadership can sometimes be a red flag for investors.
Yeah.
What about their history of dealing with tough situations? Have they faced any major crises?
The information we have doesn't really get into specific crises they've faced, but
Yeah.
they've definitely operated in a volatile market, and they've had periods where they've lost money.
Okay.
They've been cutting costs recently, which you could see as a response to those financial challenges. So we don't have a ton of detail on past crises, but they've shown a willingness to make changes when they need to.
Makes sense. Okay, how about their communication with shareholders? Do they keep investors in the loop?
Yeah, they seem to be pretty transparent. They have an investor relations section on their website with all the usual stuff, financial reports, press releases, all that. And the CEO sometimes writes letters directly to stockholders. So they're doing what most companies do, keeping investors informed through a variety of channels.
Okay, so no major concerns there. What about their ethical reputation? Any red flags popping up in the research?
Well, there is one thing. Phunware actually filed a lawsuit against UBS Securities alleging stock manipulation.
Uh,
But in this case, Phunware is the plaintiff. They're the ones who brought the suit.
oh, okay. Interesting.
And then there are employee reviews on sites like Comparably, and those paint a bit of a mixed picture about the company's culture and leadership.
Okay.
Those reviews are just individual opinions, but they can sometimes give you a sense of the company's ethical climate.
Yeah, it's worth taking a look at those.
Yeah.
Okay, so the big question. Do we think Phunware's management team is honest, capable, and shareholder-oriented?
It's tough to say definitively. I mean, they have made some positive moves lately. Their losses have been shrinking, and their bookings are way up. But they've also had those losses in the past, and there's been a lot of leadership turnover. They do seem committed to communicating with shareholders, which is good.
Mhm.
But I think we need to see more. We need to see how they perform over the long term to really know for sure.
It's a wait-and-see situation.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to capital allocation.
Hmm.
How are they using their money?
Well, they seem to be putting money into areas they think will lead to growth.
Okay, like what?
Research and development, especially for the AI platform, and improving their location-based services. And they're also trying to grow their sales and marketing teams.
Okay, so they're investing in their core business and trying to reach more customers.
Yeah, exactly.
What about mergers and acquisitions? Have they done any of that?
Yeah, they have. They recently agreed to acquire a controlling interest in MyCanvas, which is a voter and advocacy engagement software company. So they're branching out into new areas. And they acquired Light Technology a while back, so they're not afraid to use M&A as part of their growth strategy.
Okay. What about their track record of returning capital to shareholders? Do they buy back their own shares, pay dividends?
There's no mention of any share buybacks in the information we have, and they don't currently pay dividends. But that's pretty common for companies that are still in a growth phase.
Yeah, makes sense. They're probably reinvesting everything back into the business. What about their return on invested capital, or ROIC?
This is where things get a little fuzzy. We've got conflicting information here.
Oh,
Yeah, one source, Alpha Spread, is reporting an ROIC of almost 400%, which seems way too high given their financial history.
that does seem pretty out there.
And then another source, stocknews.com, they're reporting a negative ROIC of over 100%. So it's hard to say how efficiently they're using their capital based on this. We need to dig deeper into their financials to get a clearer picture.
Okay, so the big question is, are they using their money in a way that creates value for shareholders?
It's too early to tell. I mean, they're investing in growth, and their balance sheet looks pretty good right now. But they've also lost money in the past, and those ROIC numbers are all over the place. We'll have to watch and see how things play out.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. But when we come back, we'll dive into market sentiment, ownership structure, and of course, all the risks associated with Phunware. All right, before we jump back into our deep dive on Phunware, let's talk about a tool that can help you do your own deep dives on any stock, anytime.
Oh, this sounds interesting.
I know, right? So imagine this. You want to analyze a stock,
Hmm.
and you want detailed reports, podcasts, maybe even videos, and you want all of that tailored to your level of knowledge,
Yeah.
Like how deep do you want to go into the financials, the management, all that? Well, that's exactly what stockanalytics.ai is building.
Wow.
It's not just generating reports and stuff. It's an interactive platform.
Mm.
You can ask questions about a stock, use voice commands to screen for opportunities, and even analyze your own portfolio. See where the risks are, stress test it, all that.
That sounds incredibly useful.
It is. And you don't have to take my word for it. Go to stockanalytics.ai and check out the demo.
I will.
They've got a waiting list for beta users, and there's some pretty sweet discounts, like 50% off. And you can even invest in the platform if you're interested.
I'll definitely check it out.
Awesome. So that's stockanalytics.ai. And now, back to our deep dive.
Okay, so where were we? Yes, market sentiment. Let's talk about how the market is viewing Phunware right now.
Yeah, what's the overall feeling? Are people optimistic? Pessimistic?
Well, the sentiment seems to be pretty volatile. The stock price jumps around a lot, especially when they release news about their AI stuff.
Makes sense. AI is a hot topic right now.
It is. And people are excited about the potential of Phunware's new technology, but there's also some speculation going on.
Sure. What are the analysts saying? Any price targets we should be aware of?
Yeah, the average one-year price target from analysts is around $10.54. But the range is pretty wide, from like $6 to over 13, so there's a lot of disagreement there. Zacks Investment Research just upgraded the stock to a buy, though, so some analysts definitely see potential for it to go up.
Okay. What about recent news? Has anything happened that's moved the stock?
When they announced that new AI platform, the stock went up, so the market seems to like the direction they're going with AI, but the leadership changes, those have made some investors a little nervous.
Okay, so some good news, some uncertainty. What about short interest? Are people betting against the stock?
Yeah, there are about 1.77 million shares sold short right now. That's a short float of around 8.84%, and the days to cover is a little over 4, so there are definitely people out there who think the stock is going down.
Interesting. So the market sentiment is a bit of a mixed bag. People are excited about the AI, but there's also some concern about the leadership changes, and a good chunk of investors are betting against the stock.
Yeah, that sums it up pretty well.
Okay, let's move on to ownership structure. Who owns Phunware?
Well, there are about 48 institutions that hold Phunware stock, and they own about 2.2 million shares in total.
Okay. Anyone we would recognize?
Yeah, some big names like Vanguard and BlackRock are in there.
Okay. And it looks like some of those institutions have been buying more shares recently.
They have, which could be a good sign.
What about the insiders, the executives and board members? Are they buying or selling?
We did see some selling back in November 2024. Rahul Mewawala, who's on the board, and Christopher Diallo, the chief legal officer, they both sold some shares.
Okay.
Now, insider selling doesn't necessarily mean anything bad, but it's something investors always pay attention to.
Sure. So is the ownership pretty spread out, or is it concentrated among a few big holders?
It's a little bit concentrated,
Okay.
which means that if those big holders decide to sell, it could really move the stock price.
Okay, something to watch out for. And how about those leadership changes we talked about earlier? Do you think those will have an impact on the company's corporate governance?
Yeah, it's definitely possible. New leaders bring new ideas and new ways of doing things, so we'll have to see how these changes affect Phunware's strategy, their decision-making, and their overall approach to governance.
That's a new chapter for them, for sure. Okay, we've talked about the business, the management, the financials, the market sentiment, and the ownership. Now it's time to look at the big picture. Risks and opportunities. Let's do a SWOT analysis.
All right, I like it. SWOT analysis is always helpful.
It is. So let's start with the strengths. What are Phunware's biggest assets?
Well, they have a strong integrated MaaS platform. That's a big one. They've got a lot of experience in location-based services, and they have the patents to back it up. They're developing a really promising AI platform. They've got a ton of data. Their balance sheet is looking pretty good these days, and their bookings are growing like crazy.
Those are some serious strengths.
Yeah.
Okay, now for the hard part. Weaknesses.
Yeah.
What are some areas where Phunware needs to improve?
Okay, so weaknesses. Well, they haven't been profitable yet.
Okay.
They're still pretty small, revenue-wise. The stock price is volatile. Some reports say their customers aren't that happy. They've had all these leadership changes. Their free cash flow is negative. And their market cap is still pretty low. So there's definitely some work to do there.
Yeah, those are some valid concerns. Okay, let's look at the bright side. What are some opportunities for Phunware? Where can they really excel?
Well, the markets they're in, mobile, location-based services, and AI, those are all growing really fast.
Right.
And there's a ton of demand for personalized mobile experiences, so
Okay.
that plays right into their strengths.
Okay.
Their AI platform could be a big hit, especially with smaller businesses.
Mm,
And strategic acquisitions, those could open up new markets and bring in more revenue. So there's a lot of potential there.
lots of possibilities. All right, last one. Threats. What could derail Phunware's success?
The competition is fierce. I mean, every market they're in is crowded. Technology is always changing, so they have to stay ahead of the curve. Regulations, especially around data privacy, those could really hurt their location-based services business. It's not clear if their FunCoin and FunToken system is going to catch on.
Okay.
And of course, the economy is always a wild card. If things go south, businesses might cut back on spending, and that could hurt Phunware.
So it's a bit of a tightrope walk.
In a way, yeah.
All right, we've covered a lot. Let's wrap things up with a quick conclusion.
Okay, sounds good. So after taking a deep dive into Phunware, it seems like they have some good things going for them. They're in the right markets, and they have some unique technology, especially in location-based services and AI. Their bookings are up, their balance sheet is strong. Those are all positive signs. But they haven't turned a profit consistently, and the competition is tough. And all those changes at the top, that adds some uncertainty.
Right. One of the reports we looked at recommended a hold rating on the stock.
Yeah, and I think that's a fair assessment. There's potential here, but there are also some significant risks. It's a situation where you want to wait and see how things develop.
Exactly. They need to show that they can be profitable and that their AI platform is going to be successful. Until then, it's probably best to watch from the sidelines.
I agree.
So there you have it, folks. Hopefully, this deep dive is giving you a better understanding of Phunware.
Absolutely.
They've got a lot of data, they're moving into AI, and they're really focused on those location-based services. Makes you wonder, what other industries could they disrupt down the line?
That's a great question.
There's something to think about. And if you want to learn more about how to do these kinds of deep dives yourself, and you want access to some really cool tools and resources, be sure to subscribe to the Stock Analytics AI YouTube channel.
Absolutely. You'll find a ton of great content there.
And just a quick disclaimer, this deep dive was based on publicly available information as of April 2nd, 2025, and it's just for informational purposes. Always do your own research and talk to a financial advisor before making any investment decisions. And also, we did use some AI tools to help us analyze the information for this episode.
All right.
So until next time, happy investing.